Yeah, to the cloud.
To the cloud. Welcome. Episode 4, right?
Yeah,
Episode 4. Conscious guys get laid more.
eventually.
Eventually. How's it going, Andy?
It's going great, man. Just ended a great weekend, Valentine's Day.
What'd you do?
Had sex.
Did you?
Yeah.
Way to go. You
Valentine's
got laid.
Day. Got laid.
Because of this podcast.
For sure, because of this
we
podcast.
are successful.
We've just proven our point.
Dang.
That little bit of consciousness I've gained over the last 4 episodes.
Yeah, it only took three episodes to
That's
figure
it.
it out. Cool.
We're good.
So what'd you do for Valentine's Day?
Valentine's Day, we went out on Saturday night rather than Sunday because we both wanted to drink and we both wanted to not have to drive and worry about a hangover for Monday morning. So, smart choice.
Good choice, Andy. Way to be conscious.
Exactly, right? We went to the Mayor's Table. It's a restaurant in Newport Beach at the Lido Inn.
Oh,
It's very nice.
nice.
Very
Did you
nice.
meet the mayor?
No. We had 2 waiters named Jeff, though. That was really cool.
Was one of them spelled Geoff, like your brother?
I don't know. I didn't ask.
Those ones are weird. You got to watch out for them.
Yeah, they were both a little strange, but very cool, very helpful.
They're probably
Amazing.
Geoff.
Probably both of them, right?
I like your brother.
He's cool.
I've only met him a couple times. Remember that one time we went to sushi?
Yeah.
Down the street from your place?
Yeah.
It was good to just hang out with him.
He's a cool guy to hang out with.
The other time that I saw him was, I don't know if I led his workshop or if I was just there for the morning part of the workshop,
Mm-hmm.
Beyond Reasons workshop.
Yeah,
But he's a great guy.
he is a really great guy.
Really smart too.
Incredibly smart.
A doctor.
Yes. With multiple PhDs.
Multiple PhDs? No shit, really?
Yeah.
What PhDs does he have?
Cellular and molecular biology.
Those are 2 separate ones?
I believe so.
So he's got a PhD in cellular biology and a PhD in molecular biology?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And then a medical degree, medical doctorate.
Wow. So he's where you get your weed from?
No.
But-
No, I ordered that shit online.
Yeah. Yeah. That's delivered by a different guy each time.
Some rando.
Okay, so you went to the mayor's table over the weekend.
Did.
And you hung out with your wife there. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And what else did you guys do?
That's about it. And then we came home and then we were both a little tired and a little drunk. So we had sex on Valentine's Day.
Did you stay there on Saturday night?
No, we came home.
Oh, no, you came home.
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Nice. Right
Yeah.
on.
Dinner was at 8. We closed the place down.
Whoa, yeah.
Yeah. We're like looking around and nobody is left. And they're just like standing there. Like, oh, you guys want to leave?
Oh, yeah. We gotta
sorry.
go. Mm.
And they're like, no, there's one other couple still inside. And I'm like, oh, good. It's not us.
You're not the only assholes here.
That's right.
The assholeness is diluted between you and one other table.
And that is where consciousness ends when you've had 4 drinks.
Nice. Well, that's cool. Was Karen happy?
Yeah.
That's good.
Really happy.
I like Karen. She's smart too. You're surrounded by a lot of smart people.
She's incredibly smart.
Cassie's with her
Oh my
freaking
God.
Mensa, Karen, your brother.
Insanely smart.
Then you have me,
Yeah, you're smart.
Mr. 75 on the IQ test.
You're so full of shit. I think you need to take another test.
We should both take it. Let's take it and have Cassie take it with us. We'll see who's the smartest.
All of us get an IQ test?
Yeah,
Okay,
let's do it.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Do I have to share my results with the world though?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Because we have a podcast for those exact reasons.
The exact reasons of sharing
Our life on
um,
blast.
our life on blast. Is that what I signed up for?
That is what that's what we signed up for.
Damn. Can I renegotiate that contract?
Sure. I could always have another co-host.
Oh, wow. All or nothing. So good. You know exactly how to push my buttons. What a dick.
Oh, good.
All right. So let's just say that this is my intelligence has been a button
A
for
hot button.
triggering
Hot button.
for quite a while.
Very sensitive to the touch. You get close to it, you
Yeah.
breathe on it, it gets pushed.
For sure.
So let's say that it is. Okay.
It
It is.
It is. And so this is a great thing, a great opportunity for me to work on this and get clear about what it is I want. And how I want to show up. And my life on blast means everybody who watches this, all the 2 subscribers, thank you very much.
Thank you, both of you. One is me. Thank you, the other person.
Thank you, the other person. Get to see how I respond and react during this whole process.
Great. So how are you going to do that? How would you like to approach that?
Well, there's the experiential exercise of scheduling the IQ test.
Oh, okay, got it. About the IQ test. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Well, I mean, that would be directly pushing on that button pretty fucking hard. This is how intelligent standardized tests for intelligence see you. And then I get to react to that.
So what do you think would happen if you scored below me?
Did you just say below me?
I did. I did.
Can
you imagine that? What if you got 148 and you're like, see, look at I'm the same as I was when I was a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
And then I scored 149.
I don't think that would bother me as much as if I came back with a 130 and you had like a 132. At that point, it would be, oh shit, I was so much smarter when I was 6. And not only that, but this guy who thinks he's a 75 is actually smarter than me. And I don't really know that that's true.
Yeah, I could be a closet genius.
I think you're incredibly smart. And I also don't know, like, fuck. I have doubts about my own intelligence right now. So like, it's like, what if it's not really that anymore?
What do you think you put, what's all the value that you put behind intelligence? Because you have intelligence is much more meaningful than I have intelligence.
Obviously.
I have other insecurities. So I have
Sure.
other buttons that are on the same probably level as you, but
Mhm.
yours is around intelligence. Yours is like, if I question or ask you something,
Mhm.
sometimes you hear it as you haven't figured it out,
Mhm.
as opposed to I'm just asking how does something go, right? And that's
Mhm.
like, you see it as an assault on your intelligence.
Mhm.
But what else does it have behind it? Like, why does intelligence have, what's the weight of all of the value in there?
It's wrapped up in my identity from childhood. Like who I was and how the world saw me was really important to my parents. And when I was in school, from preschool on to when I got the IQ test, people saw me as hyperactive, dumb, distracting, needing to be put into special education because I was disruptive and all these things. A lot of it had to do with the medication I was on for asthma and things because it was all adrenaline. But then, this test proved that I had intelligence and that it was just
A chemical reaction.
I guess.
Yeah.
But
that didn't dissuade
as
you or your family or anything from it. You still had you had that value already imprinted on you as to the when I say the value of intelligence.
I think so. I'm trying to remember how I would know or an example of it, but I don't. Yeah. Yes. When I was enrolled in Catholic school, I didn't test very well. Like I could test really well at math. Like I could do the math really easily, and so I got put in the grade level higher for math, so I could learn that. But when it came to reading, I was dyslexic. I had a lot of trouble reading, and I was insecure about it. So when I tested to read the paragraphs and answer the questions, I just didn't read the paragraphs and just answer the questions. And so I got dropped down a grade level for that. Whoa. And that was the principal. What I remember the principal saying is, one day you'll learn to just read and do the work. It's not that difficult. And I was like, what is that supposed to mean? And then my mom was like so disappointed. It felt like she was, I don't know if she was disappointed in me,
but that's what it felt like.
But it felt like I internalized it. And so, yeah, there were bits and pieces of that. Before the IQ test.
That was before the IQ test.
Mm-hmm.
And then the IQ test happens. They find out you're a genius, but you still don't get the I'm okay who I am. It's still a hot button for you thereafter. It's already imprinted on you. The scar has been made.
Some of that. And then there was a lot of when I would get in trouble, it would be, you're smarter than that. Like, and that would be used constantly to kind of, it felt like a shaming of, you should know better than this. You're smarter than this. Doesn't matter how much life experience you've actually had, but guess what? You're super hyper intelligent and should be able to.
Do you think you
do something. That's what I took away from it.
Yeah. When you were young and they were, and these are your parents probably telling you that you're smarter than this.
Mm-hmm. And teachers, yeah.
When they were asking you that, do you think did you hear them and you were like, that's probably true. I am smarter than this, and I did something dumb.
I remember struggling to figure out what I could have missed then, because even in this moment, I don't know what I could have done differently to get it right. Like, that was my response.
Got it. And so then you take it on as you are at fault. Because I believe them and they say that I should have known. Therefore, I'm at fault for not having seen something. Got it.
And because I'm that smart, I just should have.
Yeah. Gosh. Okay.
Cool, huh?
So then putting this on blast, taking an IQ test, and then actually looking at the results and then comparing them to Cassie and myself, and then putting them on Conscious Guys Get Laid More.
Yeah.
What is that?
Automatically, it opens up, well, now everybody knows how smart I am. And it just, in my mind, is a risk that invites people to test whether or not it's true, and then get to use my failings or my missteps or my mistakes as, oh, you're either not as smart as you think you are, or you should have known better because you actually are that smart. There is no way that this is actually supportive of anything I want in my life.
Wow, from that triggered standpoint.
Yeah, from that triggered standpoint,
there is
that's where it is.
No positive outcome.
Fuck no.
Dang, that's tough.
That's a good one, right?
Yeah,
that's a good button.
That's like which road to hell do you want to go down?
Yeah,
because we're going down.
That's it.
Oh man. So now that you've done work on yourself, do you see an alternative road? Do you see how this could be, this experience of taking the IQ test and then comparing and promoting it? What was your word? Outstanding?
Being outstanding.
Being outstanding with it. Is there another way that another road that this could take?
Intellectually, because I'm so smart, I'm sure there is.
But I know? But I can't see it.
I can't see it from here.
Oh, dang.
Not yet. I don't like. I really, yeah. It's a struggle to understand like the value that this could bring.
Oh, should we figure that out before you just step into it?
That might be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, this is
painful.
Yeah, and then you're going to go into reaction, and I'm going to have to deal with you and being reactionary for however long it takes to recover.
Oh, how bad is that?
It sucks.
You put up with it for like 7 years or 8 years.
Yeah, and I'm working to not put up with it.
Well, cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Yeah. So how do you think I look at it at the IQ test?
How do you look at my IQ test?
No,
or how do you look at your IQ test?
Pretend that you jumped into my shoes and you lived my life in my head and in my emotions. And I was sitting here talking to my buddy, whose name is Andy. And I said, dude, let's take an IQ test and let's compare them and then let's put it out to the world. How do you think I think about it?
I think you don't have as much built around the intelligence as part of your identity.
Sure.
so the gunk on it and the weight, emotional weight of it is much less, and so that movement through that process, it's like kind of what learning to ride a motorcycle would be like for me. Yeah, it sounds like it's something cool that I could do and possibly be okay at. And do I like I can do it or not do it. It's not a big deal. It's a little bit of a challenge and it could be fun. Like just have a lot less nag at it, I think.
What do you think is in the place of nag? If I have a response that's 100 watts of something and your response to it is like 95% of those watts of energy are towards looking at how you're not intelligent or you're dumb, and you're saying mine is way less, give me a number of what you think mine is, the weight of the value of intelligence. What would you guess?
I don't know, somewhere between 30 and 40.
Okay, so I have 30 and 40 watts of that 100 watts of energy going towards my value around being perceived as intelligent, right? My own look at myself and what I think others are thinking about me, which gives 60 or 70-ish watts of energy to put towards something else. What do you think I put those watts towards?
In that realm of intelligence?
Yeah, in regards to taking the IQ test, comparing it, and promoting it out into the world.
I think you tie it to... Did you have Mexican for Valentine's Day?
I had Mexican for lunch. I wonder if these microphones could hear my stomach.
Well, now like the world knows.
Screaming.
Frijoles! So, man, I think I'm even in reaction right now. So this is awesome. Like there is a right answer here. Maybe there isn't. So
no.
What I'm thinking is that the other watts of energy around intelligence has more to do with the ancillary benefits rather than intelligence itself.
Oh, interesting.
Like, this is a great topic for the podcast. This is a great thing to connect and share as a learning point or an experience, and finding out who I really am in comparison to some of these other things. And so you like tie it to something other than the intelligence itself. Like, I'm not quite sure how, like, and this is the blind spot, right? Where directly to the intelligence, you've got 30 to 40% of weight and energy around how you identify with it. And then the rest of it, because it's not about how you identify with it, it's
what I can use with it, what I can do with it.
How utilitarian it is.
Ah, interesting. That's cool.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I really didn't care about my perspective. What I was having you do was see if you could take on just another person's perspective, because you couldn't answer it for yourself. So I'm like, well, what do you assume somebody else is? And that's as good as you coming up with another way for you to look at it. It at least cracks, the door open to have something else enter in. As you think about it in that utilitarian way, does that resonate with you? Does that like, I kind of like that. That makes sense to me. It kind of fits within the way I also look at other things within. Now we're talking about from Andy's perspective, not from Lyndon's perspective. Does that fit within the other constructs that you have about how you look at life and how you look at experiences?
Can you be more specific?
So what I heard you say about this other guy's perspective, this guy named Lyndon's perspective, is that he has some weight on his intelligence, which is like 30 or 40%. He wants to weigh it as in regards to what people think about that and what he thinks about himself. But then the other 60 or 70% of the value he has around the experience of taking, comparing, and then promoting his IQ is that it's just something to connect. It's an experience, and any experience is something that you could use as fodder for fill in the blank, connecting with you, doing something with the podcast, doing something with productive learning, doing something with Cassie or Grace or a random person on the street who talks about intelligence or books, or it's just something to be utilized, and it's just in my it's in my chamber ready to be shot at with whatever target I want to use it towards, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like that whole utilitarian mentality is just a construct. It's a way in which you're viewing the world. The world with that construct is just items to be taken and utilized for some benefit, its own benefit, your benefit, or some other benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And some people may live within that kind of construct. So everything really fits within. That's why I have relationships, is for the purpose of something else. That's why I have a business, for the purpose of something else. There's this general mentality.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, do you have that? Is that a natural mentality that you have yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you were to work on actually taking that 95% of 95 watts out of 100 of the value around the intelligence that I have, that people perceive and I perceive of myself, and maybe I shift that down to 80, and in its place I put 15-ish% towards, I could utilize this somehow. That wouldn't be out of your natural construct for how you look at life.
Right.
It fits within it.
Right.
So that's cool. That's what I was looking to see. If
Mm-hmm.
you thought of that and it does fit within your natural construct, well then look at it. It's not like I'm changing Mexican food to Italian food. I'm actually just changing Mexican dishes from one Mexican dish to another. So a lot of the spices are the same. A lot of the feel is the same. It has a different flavor. It has a different outcome,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still within the scope of, we're going to a Mexican restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I think when some people look at trying to shift their perspective on something,
Mm-hmm.
and if they take it on from the book they read from Wayne Dyer, or what Oprah said on her Oprah Sundays, and they say, I want to have that perspective, it doesn't fit within the construct of how they naturally think. So now I'm trying to take my Mexican dish and change it into an Italian dish, but I'm still trying to stay in the Mexican restaurant. Like, they don't do that. You can't do that. You got to leave. You got to be somebody completely different. With
Mm-hmm.
staying within the realm of what you already have a construct or beliefs around, but seeing how I could apply more weight on certain ones that I want to, and lessen the weight on some that I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's easier for the mind and the body to start to build habits and build habits in ways of viewing and analyzing their situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's just easier for you to say, oh my gosh, look at, there's me again saying it's so much weighted. But actually, that reminds me, how could I use this? How could I utilize this experience? And that wouldn't be a huge shift, as opposed to me saying, find the spiritual and emotional connection to why IQ is valuable to you. And if that wasn't a construct for how you viewed life, then it's like, it doesn't function. It doesn't compute.
Hmm.
It's a different, it's like a different coding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. You're incredibly smart.
And what I was doing was I was deriving an idea that you already had within yourself, because
Sure.
I just asked you to project on me.
Yeah.
And then just fed it back to you. Well, if that's the only thing that came to mind, it came out of your fucking head. It wasn't out of my head. If I were to tell you, hey, why don't you do this, this, and this with it?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's a crapshoot. I may hit or I may not hit. It may still be within the Mexican restaurant's menu, or it may not be. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Let me cross my fingers and hope that my coaching helps you.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Mm. That's fascinating. And empowering for the next step, the next action to begin a shift, energetic shift.
Yeah,
that's nice.
I think that's what we did in New Thinking for New Action.
Yeah,
is we essentially said, hey, what if you looked at the problem or the issue or the thing that you're working on right now, and we said, what if somebody else went and did it?
Mm-hmm.
How would they do it? And you're essentially creating the game plan for somebody else, but you're not realizing that the whole thing is the game plan came out of your head.
Right.
So in some way it has to fit within you.
Yeah.
It may not be perfect. You may have to adapt it, but shit, it gets the ball rolling. Then we just have to readjust how we're doing it, but it gets the ball rolling.
Yeah. It opens up the creativity, the power to create a new perspective, just a degree or so shift.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's really powerful.
I like, I don't think we talked about this last time, but I was talking about this with somebody. I like reading biographies of people because I like to hear how they think, because then it helps me understand, well, I don't think like that, but I do think like this, or I kind of think like that, but I've never pushed the limit like that pushes my limit on what I thought was capable. And so it helps me either define what I'm not or define and push my ideas of who I could be or what I am capable of, because the way that they think about XYZ does fit within my construct and my mission and my values.
And when you say the way somebody thinks about it, especially in the biography sense, you're talking about the way that they approach a problem, maybe analyze it, maybe not necessarily the values that they use to guide their decision, but just the way that their approach to it.
Right. So I've read a couple things on Abraham Lincoln. What I found is fascinating with him is he was not for the abolishment of slavery.
Right.
He was not for it.
Yeah.
He said all states should figure it out on their own. I am not for that. I think what we should do is make sure that we shouldn't have it continue and proliferate. That's what I'm going to do. He becomes president. We're in civil war. It's now all about slavery. It's all about the value of human beings or not the value of human beings. And he is trying to make sure that he's keeping the influence of the extremes of both sides within something that he can manage. So the ones that are saying abolish it completely, well, if he does that, he loses the far extreme of the other and even the centrists. And if he says, hey, let's just open up slavery for whomever wants to, well, then he loses the centrists and he loses all the other people on the opposite side.
Yeah.
So he essentially just says, hold on. Let's herd cats. Shit, we're at war. That's okay. We're still herding cats. I'm not going to push it. Maybe we just create a dividing line. I don't know. But then what I found fascinating was he said he realizes he didn't want to proliferate. And if it actually just lived, it would proliferate.
Right.
And I can't have that. And so I'm actually going to do something that was not conceived of, because it's in alignment with something that people aren't thinking about in 20, 50, 100, and 200 years later. I'm going to abolish slavery altogether. Now that's going to help me with recruiting men into the army and doing this, and maybe we can win the war. But the idea of, so again, there's part of like the values that he has and the situation that he was in. I'm never going to be in any kind of situation like that, right?
Sure.
Not on that kind of grand scale. But what I found fascinating is he held on to some values that he was very clear on from the get-go. And when he got pigeonholed into not seeing any route to do, and all I'm trying to do is herd cats and see if I can keep it together, what had him get out of that just herding cats and keeping it together was to say, so how does my value live in 50 years from now and in 150 years from now? Oh, we need to abolish the whole thing. So that for me was, I'm a person that I like to live by values. I want to live by my values. I want to make sure that I feel comfortable with who I am and how I show up. And I want the company to live by certain values, and I want the company to show up in certain ways, right? That's all fine and good. But then as you and I have worked on in different operational stuff, like sometimes when you put your values down and then you have the issue at hand, it's like, I still don't know what the fuck to do, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, do we hold the women's or men's retreat? I don't know. We have all these core values. We have this beautiful manifesto with all this mission and stuff written through it, all this feel good stuff that, yeah, when everything's fine and good, we're all gung-ho charging for it.
Mm-hmm.
But then you look at the immediate, do we hold a workshop in the midst of COVID? Fuck, our values don't actually say what to do. Our mission doesn't actually say what to do.
Yeah.
Or does it? And thinking and having that idea of what I take away from a lot of reading into Lincoln is, don't look right now at how the values apply. Look way out ahead as to how all the values apply.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and if I look way out ahead, then here's how I'm going to make a stance on that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a long-winded answer to, I'm not even sure if I was going to talking about the same thing, but if I could wrap it back in,
sure.
Let's see if I can do this. This will be amazing. The idea is, it fits within my value system or my construct for how I view life. And when I go in, I want beliefs and values when I read biographies to make sure that they fit within my construct and my values and my mission.
Mm-hmm.
And when I listen and read about different people and their values and their constructs for how they view life, it either tells me what I do not believe in, which is helpful, or it can push me into thinking larger and beyond. As much as I've had business mentors tell me, yes, as the president and business owner, you should be thinking 1, 3, 5 years ahead. That's just kind of like, Hallmark.
Sure. It's meaningless.
It's meaningless until you see yourself in it. And then all of a sudden it has tremendous value. And it actually tells me how to show up. That was part of what I got from watching or reading about Lincoln. So that's how I came to that.
Nice. Do you ever, when you read biographies and you're experiencing a dissonance between their particular set of values or their construct of what they're going for, do you ever apply that to now learn in an alternative way, not necessarily the way they did it is in somehow alignment with who I am and what I want to become, or it's not, and so I push it aside? Is there any learning that you've done out of, I don't even know that I'm asking a good question by the look on your face.
Well, I'm just not clear on what you mean. So if I don't follow the values that these guys, that somebody has, then what? Then the question is what?
Are you able to glean any learning from it? Let's say there's a book that you recommended I read, which I loved. It was about the Civil War. It was about I think it was about Gettysburg and the generals and like what got them there, right? Their particular journey. I forget what the name of the book is. If I was smarter, maybe I'd remember.
I don't even remember.
But one of the scenes was this general, I think it was his brother was there. They were holding the line and the line had a hole in it, and he threw his brother into this spot, and knowing that the guy who was just in that spot just got killed.
Right.
Like that is a value that he just had. And then the other side of that is there were a lot of values on the Confederate side. There's Union and Confederate soldiers fighting each other, and the Confederates had all these tactics, all these ways of being, and some of those values are in alignment. None of those values around why they were fighting are in alignment with who I am, but what learning could I get from that is still a question that I bring for myself.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah, I think so, because I think if you look at take the Union and the Confederates. The Confederates had some value around personal property and personal well-being, and they thought that meant that they could enslave people, and that was fine. But there is still a value that I have around personal well-being and personal property. So what's mine? So as much as I don't believe in slavery, I could still say, wow, that's interesting that they went to fight for what? They went to fight for slavery, but it's not slavery they were fighting. They were fighting for personal well-being and the ability to do enterprise in whatever means that they wanted to. And even if that meant enslaving a human to do some of that. Okay, I don't believe in enslaving a human, but I do believe in personal enterprise. I do believe in and an ability to try and do things however I want to, or the freedom to be able to do that. But I also have another value around human rights and the dignity of an individual to not be enslaved. Okay, so it does tell me I relate to them here. I don't relate to them there.
So there's a spectrum then of the value itself. It's not either on or off. It's not yes or no, right or wrong. There's a spectrum, and on that, a bunch of different values can intersect at different points, or however that would look graphically.
Yeah.
And then you get to prioritize and understand all the coolness about it.
Yeah, like what I've worked with people on is, and especially in a business sense, if you have a list of 5 values, those values are not equal. So what are they, or what's the weight of those values? Which one is a priority? Like we were talking before, you'd save multiple people out of a tsunami, or the tsunami was coming through, Orange County, and I was going to go save Cassie and Grace.
Whatever's within arm's reach.
Yeah, exactly. I also have a value around helping humanity. I'm an environmentalist at heart. That's what I went and studied at college, starting there. And I also think about how can I not use plastics, and how can I reuse and wear the same jeans from 16 years ago or whatever, like, because that's on my mind. But is that value higher than my family? No, it's not.
Yeah.
So I would do things to make sure that my family's well-being is where I want it to be, and then I will make sure that I am ecologically, supportive of the environment. Do I not have a value there? No, I totally have a value there. Is it high there? Yes, but what's the priority of those? And I think finding out the priority of those values and the meaning, like the weight behind them, that can also help, at least it's helped me make decisions of, so how do I choose between these two things?
Yeah. I remember doing an exercise in a workshop. This was before I started Productive Learning, but it had a little part on there in values, and to like do a little bit of a test, emotional test on prioritizing your values like that. So put yourself in a scenario, if this were to take place and this were to happen, what would you do? And then that would help you align or prioritize your values.
Right.
And a lot of people have a perceived value around telling the truth. And when it comes down to it, telling the truth really drops down in the priority of values.
Most people don't have a truth value.
Yeah.
It's BS.
Yeah. Or family, like a family, like your definition of family is you, Grace, and Cassie and Winston.
Yeah.
And like, that's your family. And then other people have a family of, well, it's my grandparents, and it's my aunts and uncles, and it's my cousins, and it's my kids, and my brother's kids. And that just, so where does that now, with all of those components and variables, where does family fall?
Right.
I don't know, compared to what else?
Yeah. And I think people really have to look at, oh, I'm not what I think that I am.
Oh, people don't like that.
They don't like that.
People don't like that.
No.
People don't like that. That's what we're talking about with the intelligence thing. That I just want to bring that up, because that's me right now. Like, I don't want to look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think there's, like, on the family thing, I think there's people that say, yes, I love my family and I value them highly. When was the last time that you talked to your sister? It was about 2 months ago. Okay, when was the last time that you went and saw your parents?
Yeah.
Well, they live on the East Coast.
Right.
So?
Right.
So then I get, you say that you think you value family, but then what do your feet do? Your feet don't do that. So what do you value? And it's not to say that you don't value them. It's to just show you that you may have a priority of something else, and to come into alignment with what actually is makes life flow so much better.
Well,
once you get over the upset of realizing that you may not still have 148 on your IQ score.
Maybe.
You gotta come to terms with that. What if you just, do you think you just picked D each time and you actually got the answers right a bunch?
No, it's a very interactive test. Yeah.
How old are you? You said 10, 6? You were young, right?
I was young. I think I was 10. Yeah. I remember one of the questions it was a piece of paper, and the guy folded it in half and made a cut in it, and then like how many holes are in the paper, and then like he did that again. He like folded it 2 more times and then did a cut, and so how many holes are in the paper?
Oh yeah.
And like I got the second one wrong. Like I didn't have it.
Right.
And then he did it another time and he folded it more. And so I got that one right. And he's all, so how did you get there? Well, I said this, and this. And he's all, oh, cool, that's great. Nice job. And then we went on to the next question. It's the only thing I remember about the IQ test.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have got it on the first one. There's 3 holes. Like, dude, you flipped it over once, man. And the guy's like, leave. I'll just give you a 76 if you leave now.
Let's just cut 2 holes in this piece of paper. I'll give you a string and you can wear it out as a mask. How would you like that?
Oh my gosh. That's funny. I wonder how you can take an adult test.
I don't fucking know.
We'll find out. Okay. That was our Valentine's Day. Okay, we talked about that.
Nice.
And then we talked about racism. And we talked about Lincoln.
Oh, cool.
What else did we talk about? Oh my gosh. So I went running the other day, and I run with Winston off the leash because he's a good dog. He's a good dog.
Yeah.
And we've trained him.
Yeah.
We spent a bunch of money to make sure that he's a good dog and he's trained. But anyway, I was running and there was this turn in the road and we turned and there was a group of, I think 3 adults, and then they had 4 dogs and all their dogs were off leash as well. And they all were like this little happy little pack just bouncing around and whatnot. But then they approached us really fast and Winston got super intimidated. I kept running because typically Winston just keeps following me.
Yeah.
Many times when I'm running or biking, he doesn't really care or pay attention to whom else is out there. He is like, stay with Alpha, right? Yeah. Stay with the leader. But he stopped running and I kept running probably another 10 or 15 yards and I didn't get a sense that he was with me. And I looked back and he was just like sitting and intimidated by these dogs kind of coming at him.
Oh, wow. And I kind of turned around and I was kind of jogging backwards saying, come on, Winston. But then the road kept bending and the people were like waving at me. And then like they were saying, oh, he's happy, or they're friendly. And the road kept bending. So then I essentially lost sight of Winston and I kept saying, Winston, come. And then I immediately heard growls, barks, a little rough house thing happening and kind of a whimper. And so then I'm like, oh shit. And so I turn around, I start running back the other way and Winston comes running towards me. The other dogs are kind of chasing after him because they're probably like, this is play. They're just running away. Now let's go play tag. But Winston's freaked out. Winston like immediately comes up to me and rolls onto his belly and his tail is in between his legs. He rolls on his back and his tail's in between his legs. And I like get down and I'm petting him like, you're okay. And the guy was super nice. One of the people that was with him came up and was like, is he okay? I was like, I think he's fine. He's probably just got scared. But the parent protector. Well, how would I say this? The parent protector didn't come out like get angry at that guy. Sure.
The judger of my non-parenting and non-protecting actions came out. And then the whole rest of my run, which I was near the end, but it was still 10 minutes or something of my run, I was just like, you should have just kept Winston right at your side. Oh my gosh, you probably freaked him out. And of course, Winston doesn't give a shit. He just like, after I came up and then he ran off and he was
he's
bouncing
fine.
around totally fine.
Yeah.
But I just had this like, oh my gosh, poor dog and this, and oh my gosh, I have a daughter now, and how like
you just extrapolated
into
man, Neverland.
I went deep as like oh my gosh, you can't do this, you can't leave them exposed to
Did you pack your bags and call the cabin in the woods to make your reservation when you got home?
I can't even take Winston. I can't even take Winston anymore.
Jesus.
Just me. But was interesting. So that went away pretty quickly. My judgment of myself went away pretty quickly. But then what was left was that was that projecting fear of, if something will happen, what if something happens? What if something did happen to Winston, that he did get bit and it was one that happened to have gotten infected? What if I'm around with Grace and we're running, or I'm jogging with her, and then Grace falls and gets hurt, and what if this and what if that? And I just had this like, oh my gosh, the fear of, like, I don't have that fear with Cassie. Cassie went to the Bahamas for 30 days on a yoga retreat. No fear at all. Cassie went to a yoga retreat up in Grass Valley for 10 or 12 days, whatever there is. No fear. She used to go fly out to Northern California 2 or 3 times a month for 3 or 4 days. No fear. No fear of her injury. No fear of her leaving me. No fear of, like, it didn't matter. Just no fear. I have trust and faith in her.
Take her on a walk?
I didn't take her on a walk with these dogs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, these dogs. It's probably these dogs. These were the hounds of hell.
It must have been.
That's what they
All
were.
right, sorry, I didn't mean to.
But the idea, like, but I found it fascinating. The amount of trust that I have in Cassie makes it so that I don't fear the potential of something bad happening.
Are you responsible for Cassie?
I don't.
Where it lands for me is like the sense of responsibility. Like, you were using I can't be a parent. I'm not a dog, and if I put myself in your shoes and project all over you again, like, I would be, oh shit, this is my responsibility, right? This is mine to control.
Yeah.
And have influence over. Like,
yeah,
I don't think you have the same relationship with Cassie.
I think you're right on the responsibility. Yeah, I don't feel that level of responsibility for Cassie. I feel responsible for our household and for like a sense of providing that I like. I feel fulfilled when I can provide.
That's one of your values, apparently.
But the like the sense of her safety, that if something were to happen that like was totally outside of my controls, I don't think that would be, I would have such fear or hesitation around. But yeah, with Grace, with Winston, I feel some of that, but then I also have this sense of, like, a dog's also going to be a dog.
Yeah, dog's gonna be a dog.
And a dog could get a bug up its ass and run around and then get hit. Like, that is a potential, and it's not unfounded, even with how well he's trained. Right. And Grace, even more so, she's completely dependent. Yeah.
No fine motor skills.
She can't live for 4 hours without, not 4 hours, it's probably like 10 hours, or I don't know how long, without having assistance of some kind. I don't know how long they'll last.
You can't just put her in a box and walk away for a while.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
No, it just doesn't work that way.
Right. Whereas, like, Winston, you could have a dog be by themselves for hours and hours. It may not be nice, but they can do it. Grace can't. And even as she grows up, as she becomes 1 and 2 and 3, she can't. And so there's that fear of, what if something happens? And I think you're right. It's pinned to, I have a feeling of responsibility towards or over her, because I do have a responsibility over her, not
for
just her
or to her, or how would you describe the responsibility?
It is well, I was going to say it's a responsibility for her well-being, but that actually assumes that she is okay. And there's a deeper one, there's a more foundational one of a responsibility for her life.
Yeah.
And then if you have that covered, then you can talk about well-being and happiness and fulfillment right now. Like, is she getting mentally stimulated? Is she comfortable? Is she whatever? But there's that base one of, like, are you providing food and shelter and clothing? Because she cannot do that.
Do you find that you have a different degree or a prioritization or a comfort with either of those? I know that's a lot of questions at once.
Either of those being what? Either of those, which ones?
The two distinct ones. Her well-being sits above her life. Like, do you have a level of confidence in your ability to provide her that part for her life? Like, how often do you think about that versus her well-being one?
That's interesting. I don't think I really.
No distinguishing.
Well, no, I was going to say, I don't think I really ever think about her life.
Mm-hmm.
But at first, for the first couple of weeks, yes, because infants breathe really fucking weird, dude. They all of a sudden stop breathing.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck? Like, just keep in and out, in and out. It's not that hard. 2 things. Oh my gosh. And so there's many a times when both Cassie and I have just like shot out of bed, like, and looked and then like patted and like, oh, you're still breathing. So there was early a lot of feeling around life. Now there's not, because I get how they breathe, and she's breathing much more naturally as like a normal human. So I don't think I really think about that base one.
Yeah.
And so, but I do think quite often about the not the fulfillment. What was the other word you said? The well-being. Yeah, the well-being of her. Like, should we put her on her stomach so that she learns to have back strength and trunk strength so that she can then stand up and walk? Can I put something in her hand so she can start to learn dexterity and finger and thumbs and all her hand movements? So I am thinking about that very frequently. That's a fairly constant one, and I know, and I could assume Cassie does that as well, because she is we're talking about it, and you can watch her provide. I'm going to give her this little crunchy thing that crunches, and this time I'm going to put this one in front of her and whatnot. So I don't know how much I wonder how much she thinks about that foundation life one versus just the well-being one.
Yeah.
We're started to think about, like, what kind of school system do we want to put her into?
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. Because there's so much that's messed up with our just public school system. There's a lot of great things about it, and there's a lot of great teachers, and there's a lot of valuable relational dynamics that you can gain from our public school system. But there's also a lot that I believe that they miss, which is the customized learning abilities of each student. And how do I bring out and accentuate some of whatever that kid's genius is? So for instance, for you, if they didn't see you as dumb or unintelligent, or this kid who has ADHD or just doesn't have attention, what if they said, oh, this kid has a lot of attention, but it needs to be focused in these different ways? Like, holy shit, could they have taken this guy that was in the 140s on IQ, figured out how to put him into essentially like a container that functioned well with how you saw the world?
Like Bubble Boy?
Like Bubble Boy. And if you had that, then what could you aspire to be or create or do in this world? But instead,
I could probably move things with my mind.
I bet you could have. There is no spoon.
There is no spoon. That's right.
There is no spoon.
It's a Matrix reference.
Get it here, folks.
All of them.
So we're thinking about that. Like, how do you get that personalized learning, but then how do you also get the incredible value of being in what the public school systems have, or even some private school systems have, which is teams and competition and all of that.
Participation ribbons.
Yeah, participation ribbons. So, and the dynamics of having to figure out, like, how do you deal with self-esteem when you're in a class and
when you're treated like everybody else.
Yeah. So
how do you deal with not being so special?
Yeah.
How do you deal with bullies?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to learn.
There's a lot to learn.
How do you learn with asshole teachers?
Yeah. How do you
get whatever you can out of an experience, even though it's not ideally customized for you? There's value in all of it.
And so that's where I think there's conversations at least in my mind going on of, you know, there's stuff that Cassie and I can provide on that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We can create the environment of teaching her, or maybe she just emulates by watching us. How do we pull value out of any situation that we're in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, you hate your English teacher, so how do you still pull value out of the class?
Mm-hmm.
Or do we not take that responsibility on, and we essentially put the responsibility on the school system that we put them through and say, hey, we're going to pay the extra $1 or go drive the extra 10 miles to this school because this one around the corner doesn't have it, or we move completely to go to someplace so that they take the responsibility or we're taking the responsibility to put it in their hands to create that environment because they are thinking about it too. It's a lot to think about.
There's a lot in between that too. There's
Totally.
Like special tutors, there's special after school programs, they've got what is it, Tilly's is doing that that program for trying to incorporate emotional intelligence training into public schools and things.
Right.
I mean, there's just a whole lot of things developing in between now and the time she goes to school. There could be something new.
Right.
That'd be incredible.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Who knows what's going to happen between now and how early do kids go to school? Like preschool?
It
5
depends.
years old or so?
Kindergarten starts at 5, I think, and then preschool can start earlier than that. Yeah. I was reading on Mensa that they've had members as young as 2 years old. And I'm like, how the fuck does that happen?
Yeah, it seems a bit ridiculous, right?
And as old as 100. So good job.
Nice job,
and
centennials.
What the fuck? Like, how could you have a conversation with a 2-year-old? Like, unless you're their parent or like they're in your sphere of
I know 2 years
whatever.
That is weird. I wonder how they
could you imagine being beaten at chess by a 2-year-old?
I mean, I couldn't.
I mean, they can't even hold the pieces, really.
I know.
I don't know.
That's wild. 2 years old?
Yeah, that's what it says on the website.
So you started looking more into Mensa. I got you all thinking about it.
It creeped me the fuck out, actually. I was looking at the website, and granted, you've heard the filters that I have. So as I'm looking at this, I'm remembering movies like all of the X-Men movies and all these places where they're trying to gather up special human beings and utilize them for whatever their nefarious purposes are. It just seemed weird. And obviously, I'm trying to build evidence and an emotional state to keep me from sharing this intelligence relationship thing.
That's very funny.
With the world, right? It's so great.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I'm a freak.
There's a lot to think about. But
is all of it necessary?
No,
not really.
I know I just made a totally blanket statement because my mind started ping-ponging back and forth like Winston and these dogs and then taking care of Grace, and then you're talking about Mensa and like what kind of school system. It's a lot to think about.
That's a lot of things. Yeah. Can we talk about something?
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about?
Should we talk about another baby?
You're having another baby?
No, we don't know yet.
What the fuck? Wow.
Get out of here.
Jesus.
Yeah, she's pregnant. No, that would be crazy.
Oh, that would be crazy. That would be awesome. Well, that
would be kind of cool.
That's like different.
That'd be almost Irish twins.
Right.
What is Irish twins within a year?
Yeah.
Within 13 months or something like that?
It's like a baker's dozen twins.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, what we're talking about, we keep talking about the conversation of a kid is this open-ended conversation. And a lot of it is provoked because other people ask us. I just got done with talking with my business mentor, Willie, and he asked us that question. My dad and my mom ask me that question all the time. I don't know who else, other people are asking us. And it's such a convoluted mess of possibilities. It just makes me not.
Your stomach doesn't like it either.
My stomach doesn't like it either. Like what I noticed is Cassie and I keep going. Like it was really funny. So yesterday we were on Valentine's Day. We went on a long walk and we started talking about it again. And she was saying, or we were talking about it, and we were kind of both saying indirectly, it's probably not a good idea. This thing could happen and that thing could happen and who knows, and it's going to be a long time until we're ready and da. And so essentially overall, it was like a pretty general, like it's probably not going to happen. So then I asked the question, if we had to make the decision right now, what would you say? We have a kid or we don't? You had to. You could not change it. Let's just see what happens. And she's like, well, when you put it that way, I'd want to have a kid.
Whoa!
And I was like, oh gosh, it's so it's like it feels like if there's a spectrum and on the left 49 50% is over here and then 50% is over here.
Yep.
It really feels like it's just teetering back and forth, like right over yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. It's not like way yes and then way no. It just keeps flipping back and forth.
Yeah. So she answered before you did?
Yeah, I said no.
You said no?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. We had to make a choice right now, it was a no.
Are you up for the gamble? Like just pull the goalie and see what happens?
Not yet. We're definitely not yet.
No. Okay.
Well, that's part of the all the factors in it.
Yeah.
If we were going to have another kid, it's do we try right now? Cassie's talked about no, she wants to have just Grace for like 3 or 4 years. Well, that means our window by standards of academia and statistics,
all the smart people
say, well, we're already at the far end of the bell curve of age range, and you add another 4 years, we're now going down to the outward extremes of that bell curve, right? Not extremes, just the outward, continuing out on that side. We've had 3 miscarriages and a stillborn.
Yeah.
So it's not like we have a great track record of shoot and hit the bullseye, shoot and hit the bullseye, shoot and hit the bullseye. So if we wait 3 or 4 years, we shoot and we miss, then
the rebounding of all of that.
What happens after that? Are we in this for like, we're going to keep going like we did with from Bodhi to Grace? We just said, let's keep going. Let's keep trying. Let's keep going. That was a lot of me pushing forward because that's what I wanted. Or we obviously can make the decision as we go, but it's still a factor to take into consideration. Or do we go down this line of, we've talked about adopting. If we wanted a second kid, we would adopt kid number 2 because Cassie doesn't want to give her body up for another 2 years like she's had to do. Well, now it's been 4 years or whatever, but 2 years once you're pregnant and have the kid.
Yeah.
So then do we adopt for that? But then we've talked with a lot of psychologists and a lot of child therapists, and they're like, you're totally welcome to. It's a beautiful and wonderful thing. You just have to know that adopted kids have something that biological kids that are raised by their biological parents have to take into consideration, that they weren't wanted in some capacity by their biological parent. And that's just something that the kid has to take into consideration. And then what's the spectrum of natural reactions and responses that the kid can have? Both the environment that they were raised up in and how to deal with, and whatever they, as their little naive, innocent selves, interpreted from that. So you have this huge existential issue or this kid has this huge existential issue that they're dealing with from the get-go of life, or whenever they were given up for adoption or adopted by somebody else. And so the psychologists and the child therapists that we've talked about, it's just said, it's a beautiful thing to do. You just have to know that that's also what you're stepping into. Because some people have this idea like, oh, we adopt a kid and they're wonderful and it's great and they just fit right into your family. That is a potential. It's not out of the realm of possibility. But also know some of the factors that come with it. It's like if you're going to go play poker, hey, know the odds of what it's like to go play. Just know them and then go play. Doesn't mean you shouldn't go play, but know them. So then that's another factor to take into consideration.
Dude, you've got a lot on your mind.
Oh yeah, there's a lot in there, especially just with these kids things.
Wow.
Taking responsibility for them.
That if you were a 75, I don't think you'd be able to hold all those things in your mind at once. I think you're not giving yourself enough credit.
I wonder how much the IQ test is. Your IQ is increased just by your ability to
remember shit,
remember and recollect.
I would think it's a lot.
I think it's an astronomical amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on some of the questions, the practice questions and things, if you understand patterns, especially for the math portion, patterns and an understanding of cubes and just some arithmetic things like this times this or this times this times this and exponents and all that, then you're able to recognize things and name it. And so remembering those parts help you see something new and apply all those things you remember to it.
Got it.
And that's where I think I would have a little bit of a challenge.
So it's actually, it's in essence, it's a memory test. And can you apply what you remembered to new situations, which takes intelligence or whatnot. But if you essentially, if you don't have a very good memory,
have the foundation,
you really can't apply any of the learning previously to the new one. You're essentially learning it new the next time. That's interesting. I didn't think about that.
And I think there's different types of tests, I believe. And so some of them, like as a younger kid, you don't have all those foundational tools, but your ability to see and experience something, and then apply what you've experienced in these last couple of times to a similar situation. And then
yeah. Did we talk about, did I ever tell you if I had a superpower, what it would be? Did we talk about that on the podcast?
Did we?
I don't know if we did. I don't think we did. I can't remember.
Dude, I can't remember.
Which is really funny.
We're gonna fail.
Which is really funny. No, do you know why it's funny? Because do you want to know what my superpower would be?
You'd have a really good memory.
Total recall.
Total recall.
Total recall.
I think that was before the podcast.
Was it before the podcast?
I think you, me, and Cassie were talking in the kitchen.
Yeah. If I could have a superpower, it would be total recall.
Dude,
just pull up any of the memories.
It's a great movie.
I don't know if I've seen it.
You haven't seen Total Recall?
You ain't seen Bad Boys 2? Dude, that's from?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz.
You ain't seen Bad Boys 2?
And Nick Frost. Those guys are hilarious.
We just watched that again for
the 1000th time, right?
The 1000th time. Jesus. It's such a fun movie.
The greater good.
The greater good.
Did you know, like that movie, and then the one the end of the world one? Yeah. And then the
Shaun of the Dead.
They all have scenes where they jump through the gardens in the backyard over the fences.
Oh, really?
They do, and they're all different. They all jump over the fences, but they all have different. Each movie has a different experience of it. It's funny. Anyway,
you know what?
Trivia.
You know what's really interesting when you said that is there's some like celebrities, but they're popular because of what they've created, and what they create, they essentially create over and over again.
Yeah,
it's just the same thing.
Yeah,
but it's enjoyable to watch it over and over and over again, even though it is a new version of it in some form and whatnot. But it's like it's the same thing over and over and over again. Like Tony Robbins, for example. Tony Robbins has been saying the same thing for 45 years or however long. I think he's been doing it for like 42 or 45 years. I think he's 60 and he's been doing it since he was like maybe. Yeah, I think he's like 65 or yeah. So I think he
blew up in what, the late 80s, early 90s.
I think he really got going in the late 80s, or I think it became a little popular in the 80s, and the 90s is like
for sure
that big self-help movement.
Yeah, when he got on Oprah.
That's when and that's when Daniel Goleman came out with Emotional Intelligence in the 90s. I think it was like 92, 3, 4. And he'd already been doing it for 10 years. His version of it.
My beard is glowing.
I know, my face is too.
It's funny.
That's coming in hot right now. But I mean, he's got millions and millions of followers. He gets Did I tell you that? Oh yeah, we talked about this. He had 800,000 people show up to his Unleash the Power Within.
Yeah.
800,000 people. That was the largest online
yeah, they had to get special permission and shit, you said, from Zoom and
YouTube and Facebook. Yeah, they maxed their capacities. That's wild. And what's wild is the Unleash the Power Within he's been doing for years.
Right.
It's essentially the same book that he's written 4 different times or a dozen different times, but he keeps coming out with it. And its message is not wrong. It's not bad. I think his message is great. But then you're talking about, what's the guy's name from Hot Fuzz?
Simon Pegg?
Yeah, Simon. It's like the same movie. It's the same comedy.
Yeah.
It's the same actors.
Yeah.
And he comes over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But you like him each time, right?
Yeah.
I find that, I don't know why I find that interesting. I guess part of me thinks that there should always be something new. I should be creating something new. What
if there is nothing new? There's a deep question to ponder. What if there is nothing new?
You mean like it's already all been created?
It's all somewhere.
Tell me what you mean.
Like there's an embodiment of knowledge that exists. Period. And nothing is new. It's all embodied somewhere.
Well, then it would take my hesitation for needing to think that I have to create something new away. And essentially what I find what a lot of people do, like Tony Robbins, keep saying the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Rogan with Joe Rogan Experience on his podcast,
mm-hmm.
he's essentially done the same thing 2 or 3 times a week for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's become the largest podcast follower in the world.
Sure.
Right? Tony Robbins has become the largest name in personal growth in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's not anything new, but if you just continue to pursue that one thing over and over again and master that.
I think it also depends on how you define new and also at what scale or level you look at. Because at the beginning of 2020, I doubt that Tony Robbins was like, hey, I am going to break the servers on all of social media and Zoom because I'm going to create the largest virtual workshop in the world.
Right.
I don't think he had that goal in mind. That was something new and different based on circumstances in his relationship with the world.
Maybe he was working with the Wuhan lab and said, hey, I got an idea for my virtual show. Let's make sure that they're all inside. Tony did it.
Dude, if we get any comments, it's because of that shit comment right there.
Comment us here and let it be known.
Let it be known. This is where your 75 is showing.
Lyndon doesn't seem to understand the repercussions of the things that he says. Lyndon, whose net worth is very little, is trying to squash a multimillionaire. Not a good idea. Docked 25 points.
Jesus.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that idea of just picking one thing and doing it over and over again and mastering that.
Mastery, yeah.
As opposed to the idea of recreating or creating something new each time. I think it's I wonder why I have the hesitation that I have this feeling that it's something new needs to be created. I don't know where that comes from.
Really?
I know that it seems like I get this sense that if it's not new,
mm-hmm.
they won't want it.
Mm-hmm.
If I just come back and say the same thing,
mm-hmm.
they're going to say, oh, no, oh, that's not, we don't like you, we don't like it. I don't know where that came, why that's in my head though.
Is it new and about them? That's how you described it. Or is it something new and is it about you?
Well, so the first thing that comes to mind is like on the staff meeting that we had just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
When I was putting together the agenda, I was thinking, I want to make sure to go over the manifesto, since that's a relatively new concept.
Mm-hmm.
and I need a new way to do it. What's a process that I could build in? What's something new that they haven't done so that they can look at it again? And I sat on that for days.
Mm.
And then eventually I got to just read the manifesto again.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to do a new process. You don't need to do anything with it. Just
Mm-hmm.
read it again. That will be something for them. That'll still be something, good, bad, whatever. I think it'll be still movement in the direction of they're going to learn, they're going to relearn, relook at it, think about it more, which was the overall intent, was
Mm-hmm.
to look at was to think about the manifesto. So for those first couple of days, my thought is they need something more. They will get bored. They'll not be interested. They'll think that this is lame or dumb. And then I've lost them. I've lost their attention. I've lost their care to have them pay attention.
Where else is that paying attention? They need to pay attention to you come from.
Pay attention to me. Ah!
And new or different.
Where does that come from? Pay attention to me. Huh.
The only boy in a family full of girls.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm trying to think of like something specific because I know that a lot of the times I was in school trying to not have attention be on me because I felt so strange and different.
Mm.
Like I was doing this in my morning pages this morning about writing how in middle school, 6th grade is when I first started to have hair come in on my upper lip, right?
Yeah.
And it's that super sparse, but and because I have dark hair, it was super dark, and so it just looked shitty, right?
A weird caterpillar crawling across your lip.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm in 6th grade, and I think that there's probably, of the however many kids in the school, there's probably 4 of us that are having that at that point.
That's kind of a lot.
7 or 8.
That's crazy.
Yeah, 7th grade or 8th grade, there's more, but 6th grade, fucking nobody.
Yeah.
And I just remember that feeling of like, I want this to go away. I want this to not, I don't want people to see this. I want to hide in. I just want to be normal. I just want to be normal. That's what it felt like. I just want to be normal. So that was what was going on in my mind when you're asking, when do I want to be seen? It's like, I've actually felt like most of my life, I've not wanted to be seen. I've been trying to hide. But you're right. If I go back to that earlier stuff, I have a twin sister and I have an older sister. I've got all female cousins. I have one male cousin, but he's actually, I don't know, he's 10 or something years older. So he is essentially an adult. Yeah. When I was growing up, he was an adult.
Yeah.
It seemed that it was always about them, my sisters. It was, dude, you can't see it, can you?
I'm blinded by the light. There we go.
It seemed like it was always about them.
Yeah.
And the idea was, I need to do what they want to do, or else I'm on my own. So I need to essentially conform, or else if you don't conform, that's fine, but you're on your own. So do you hear? Because I'm blind by how that connects to wanting things to keep being new and making sure that I have their attention. Are you seeing a connection there or something?
There might be. What's coming to my mind is you have an experience of conform or be alone. Is that right? How did you say it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, conform or be alone.
So you would know that what you would learned was conform or be alone because you knew something different before that. Like you wouldn't realize that that's the experience you had unless you had experienced something else. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So maybe there's a time before the message got it drilled in over and over and over and over and over again that you need to conform and do what they do. Otherwise, you're going to be on your own.
So what was the message before that?
Yeah. Maybe there was something innate in you
Well,
about who you are and how you wanted to be in the world and
yeah.
show up that just kind of got beaten out of you. Not literally, but
Robin Crow just beats her kids.
That's totally
Robin Crow beats her kids, and Tony Robbins started.
Jesus Christ!
Conspiracy theories
I'm
here.
gonna get you a QAnon shirt.
Yeah,
you fucking dork.
I've actually fed QAnon all of his ideas. Q. He just goes by Q.
There's an actual guy?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Q was a character in Star Trek.
I remember.
Yeah. Anyway, more random trivia. Dude, your stomach does not like that at all.
Doesn't like it at all.
Way more of a Star Wars fan.
Yeah. Well, what came to mind, I'm not sure if this answers your question, but you know, I'm a twin.
Yeah.
So I was formed, wrapped around somebody else, and essentially with somebody my entire life from the get-go, right? I mean, from infancy, I was probably in cribs together, and then essentially at least sleeping in the same rooms together, and then going to the same classes together, and we had the same friends and blah blah blah. Like, I think we had the same class until high school. And our friends were essentially mutual friends. So I think I have this, it seems weird, I'm going to say this, but I actually not sure that I believe it. But I was going to say is, so I'm wondering if I have this heightened desire or feeling of a need to be with people. But I say that based on the early history, the twin thing that I was just talking about. But then I look right now and I am quite content being alone, you know, and not having a lot of outside stimulus. What?
Yeah.
What are you laughing about?
Well, it's interesting. There's a either or going on. Like, either you want to be around people or you want to be alone. Like, you've got your family, and the consequence of fucking that up is going and living in a cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
Until there's little room for anything else. And so standing out, well, my word, so total projection. Standing out means you're alone and in a cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
And staying with other people, there's something,
means I lose myself.
Right.
Yeah, I lose myself and I just conform to what is.
So it seems like what you're not talking about is the blind spot of this desire that's in you to make things and have things be new or different and how would you relate to the response from people? Like, use the staff meeting, right? The response from staff in the staff meeting when you deliver something new and different is so many questions. Let me stick with one. Fucking A. Where does that need, or what is that need serving? What are you expecting to get? What's your expectation by delivering something new or different?
That they will stay interested.
In what?
What I have to say. What I'm, the topic that's at hand, the content that oh gosh, the content that I'm bringing in.
Wow. That was a large yawn.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So okay. So let me see if I can repeat this back. We're noticing that I have an early and a very constant experience of being with somebody, with people. Namely, that was my twin sister Taylor. I also have other early experiences of, if you don't conform, you are going to be alone. And that's me being a boy surrounded by a bunch of girls. And if I didn't do what the girls wanted to do, I can go play, but I'm going to play by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm questioning why I have such a gut reaction to of thinking that I need to make something new all the time. Because I have the story that I need to make something new so that they stay interested in me or in the topic.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it feels like it's like right there, but I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
Do you see it?
I don't see it because I have no idea what else is going on in that brain.
Maybe I need to do some morning pages on this one.
What are morning pages?
I'm doing The Artist's Way.
Oh.
By Julia Cameron. Oh,
cool.
It's backwards.
I don't know. Maybe the video will have it forwards.
Oh, doing The Artist's Way.
Cool.
So it's essentially a workbook
mm-hmm.
of developing your creativity.
Oh, cool.
And a little bit, it's kind of geared towards writing, but it's not intended to just be for writers, but the modality with which she helps you express your creativity is through writing. So one of the things that you're supposed to do is to do morning pages, which is 3 pages of what's the word called?
Journaling?
Yeah, journaling, but it's the free flow thinking. That's not the term. When you write whatever comes to mind.
Stream of consciousness.
Stream of consciousness. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're supposed to do is just three pages of stream of consciousness every morning, and that's like the foundation of the exercises. And then there's also other prompts and things that you're supposed to be working
cool.
through it. So maybe I'll write about that tomorrow. Today was day 1 of my morning pages.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Day 1.
Day one of week 1. 12 weeks.
Ooh, 12 weeks.
Yep.
That sounds like a great exploration into creativity.
Cassie's done it twice, and I think she says she wants to do it again on this time. I think this will be her 3rd time, or maybe she's done it 3 times. I can't remember. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do it is because I want to be more like Cassie. We are talking about how much I worship her.
Yes, you do worship her.
But I think she has an incredible ability to articulate her thoughts and emotions, these things that are very ethereal and intangible, and she can put form to them. I'd like to be able to develop that skill. And so this is one of the things that she did. I've thought about it for a couple of years, and then it came up twice, I think last week, and I was like,
doing it.
There it is. Doing it. Gonna do it. Yeah.
Badass, dude.
So there you go. It's also, it's all movement of the same. Actually, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast was just to
be next to me.
That was a collateral benefit.
You're very good at your PC skills. That's wonderful.
You're welcome. But I wanted to talk and articulate and think out and work through problems on the fly and off the cuff, and hopefully do it in an entertaining way for other people to listen, and at least something for you and I to get some value out of.
Cool.
So here we are.
I like it.
Episode 4, folks.
Dun, da, da, da.
We're gonna have another one later this week. For the one other person that's watching.
That's right. Thank you.
And soon enough, this will be on iTunes or anywhere you get your podcasts.
Yeah, soon.
Soon.
Hope you all get laid more.
Bye-bye.